the start of week 7. A lot of weekday games this week, including the postponed game of Coastal Carolina at Louisiana. That game definitely lived up to the hype. Just really all phases of the game really showed in this game, whether it was offense, defense, or special teams. They all had a part in this game. The score will tell you it was sort of an offensive game, but you will look and there was like spans of like 4 or 5 punts in a row, and obviously special teams at the end, and obviously if they're punting, special teams. So this was a really good game to watch. It really had everything in it, and it was one of the better games. I do think Louisiana suffered from the one turnover they had. It was an interception thrown by Levi Lewis. I do think they suffered from that in the end. I think whenever you lose by just one score and there's only one turnover, you always have to look at that turnover and question if you were able to do something with that instead of turning the ball over. Where would you be at? Coastal Carolina did a great job of keeping their offense on the field. They looked crisp. They held the ball for 38 minutes. They looked so precise on offense. Really great play calling by their coordinator as well. But both offenses rushing the ball did fantastic. Louisiana did 31 attempts for 240 yards, and Coastal Carolina had 48 attempts for 212 yards. So both offenses ran the ball very, very well. The difference here, Levi Lewis did not play bad. I do think he got outplayed by Grayson McCall, though. Grayson McCall played fantastic. He went 17 for 24, 202 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Highlight the 0 interceptions there. And he also had 11 carries, 45 yards, and a touchdown with a 4.1 average. So he also ran the ball well when he ran it. No turnovers for Grayson McCall. None. Levi Lewis, unfortunately, he didn't play bad. He had the better day running the ball. But I think he threw for like 140 something yards, and he had a touchdown, and of course that one interception, and ultimately that could have done them in, even if it was even as early in the game as it was. It doesn't matter. Turnovers are an issue, whether it's the beginning of the game, end of the game, middle of the game. It doesn't matter. Then it was 27-27 until Coastal Carolina put together a drive, and Massimo Biscardi nailed a 40-yard field goal to end the game, and Coastal Carolina puts one up on Louisiana. Coastal Carolina improves to 4-0. Louisiana drops to 3-1 on the season. Louisiana was ranked 21. Usually when you get a loss, you drop. I think they need to add Coastal Carolina, but I don't think by any means Louisiana should be out of the top 25 because of this loss. Next game, Georgia State at Arkansas State. Man, this was a game where there was no such thing as defense. It was offense, and offense. To the point where I think it was a day later, Arkansas State already fired their defensive coordinator. Right away they were like, that's not good. The game didn't start how it ended, though. It ended in there was a fumble, a touchdown, and it was 4 straight punts after that. And then all of a sudden, all the offense just started wreaking havoc on everyone. On the opening drive for Georgia State, they had a mishap on a punt, and Arkansas State recovered it, and they scored off of that, and then that was where that one touchdown early in the game came. There was 1,192 total yards of offense in this game. Defenses have some dignity, why don't you? They combined for 111 points. Good grief. I think the big difference in this outcome was Arkansas State really controlled the game a lot more than Georgia State. They had 9 more first downs, and they had just over 11 minutes more of time of possession. So to me, that was a big thing for them to control the game a little bit more. Another big thing was my player to watch, Destin Coates, did not play. I think they said it might have been COVID related. I'm not sure. I'll have to check back on that. But either way, he did not play, and that was a huge miss for Georgia State. Huge miss. He is a player, I think, that could have been that player that controlled the game a little bit better for Georgia State if they were able to hand it to him and let him do his thing. But despite him not playing, Georgia State quarterback Cornelius Brown played very well. He stepped up big for his team. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, it was just short, but he did play phenomenal. He went 18 for 35 passing, 314 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 13 carries for 83 yards, another 2 touchdowns, and he did not turn the ball over. So what can you say? I mean, and another thing, I could talk about every offensive player in this game. I'm not going to, because this video would be insanely long if I did that. So I'll just say both Arkansas State quarterbacks. Well, I said I don't know about a 2-quarterback system. Well, for them it works because both of them played phenomenal. And then we'll talk about Arkansas State wide receiver Jonathan Adams Jr. I talked about him leading the conference and was top 5, top 10 in the nation in receptions. He had another 15 that day with 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. The game was very, very long. You know, whenever there's a lot of offense and a lot of passing, it's going to be like that. It's not quite my taste for a football game, but it's good change of pace. You know, you get some defensive games, get some offensive games. Who doesn't like football? That's all different. No one wants to watch the same game over and over again. Arkansas State wins 59-52. Arkansas State improves to 3-2. Georgia State drops to 1-2. Next thing we'll talk about is SMU at Tulane. Tulane played impressive this game. They really did. I think their defense played as best as they could against a very good defense. Granted, they still gave up 581 yards, but watching the game, they played better than what it seems like they did. They kept their team in the game. Their offense just couldn't keep up. I think Tulane's offense wrapped up like 370 yards. I could be wrong. I could be in the middle, but really, they just couldn't generate enough offense. They did play well, though, better than I thought. I thought this game was kind of going to be, they had to keep it close, and then SMU would eventually run away with it. I picked this game to be 45-24, somewhere around there. But Tulane did a great job of just really, really playing hard and good football. In the second half, though, Tulane, if you can just clean up those penalties. If you can clean up those penalties, I think they really would have had a legit chance to win this game and really put it on an upset. And Tulane is just a weird team. They lose who they shouldn't lose to. They win when they shouldn't win. And today, like that day, I thought, what was this game? This game was, last night. I thought Tulane was definitely going to upset SMU, but nope. At the end of the day, SMU wide receivers just went crazy. They had 3 receivers go over 100 yards. That's insane. And Shane Buechele, my player to watch, of course, did his thing, tossed for 384 yards and 2 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over. So he did, obviously, what he needed to do. Tulane's running back, Stephon Hutterson, had 19 carries, 132 yards, and a touchdown. That was pretty good from him. The twins, Deuce and Fat, also played very well. And this game did go into overtime. Tulane, SMU elected to play defense first, as you usually should in college ball. And their young quarterback unfortunately threw an interception, and that set up SMU for the game-winning field goal to win 37-34. SMU improves to 5-0. Tulane drops to 2-3. And the next game is BYU at Houston. I said this game would be kind of like a game where, it stayed close, and then eventually BYU got rolling and 31-20, somewhere around there. I was kind of right because BYU put up more points than I thought, but Houston only put up 6 more points than what I thought they were going to do, and it pretty much happened. Houston's defense really played well in the first half. At the halftime they were actually up 20-14, so they were playing fairly well. Second half, BYU really opened it up, and Houston's offense just started playing sloppy. Second half drives, they consisted of a 3-play 2-yard drive, a 3-play -6-yard drive, a 6-play drive with a fumble, and then a turnover on downs, which consisted of 4 plays for a -1-yard drive. So if they just cleaned up their second half, again, another team that probably could have stayed close and maybe had an upset. Houston did control time of possession, though. They had 34 minutes and 12 seconds compared to BYU's 25 minutes and 48 seconds. Zach Wilson, of course, went crazy. 25 for 35, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers. He also had 9 carries and 40 yards. Now, BYU's wide receiver, Dax Milne, he had a day at 9 receptions, 184 yards, and 3 touchdowns. My player to watch was Houston quarterback Clayton Tune, to see if he would clean up those turnovers he had previously against Tulane. And he did. He went 21 for 31, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he had a rushing touchdown. Played much better than last week. Unfortunately, he didn't get too much help. BYU ended up winning this game 43-26. BYU improves to 5-0. Houston drops to 1-1. Next game we'll get into is Navy at East Carolina. Navy was favored by 2.5 in this game. You know, my things were, can Navy get the offensive line going? They did, but they started the game. They opened the game with an interception, and that fell right into my prediction. They can't win games throwing the football. They're not that team. They're not. No matter how much better they have of a receiving core or a passing quarterback, it's just not going to win them games. First drive of the game, they threw an interception. So if that's not proof enough for you, I don't know what is. Navy did like I said, they did a much better job of getting the run game going. But East Carolina ran it almost equally as well as Navy did. Really, I mean, they did an effective job of keeping the ball themselves, and the time of possession wasn't that far apart. So good job by East Carolina, at least limiting Navy and holding the ball like they would for the entire game. 2 turnovers for each team, so that's something that both teams want to clean up. We know East Carolina, and we know turnovers kill triple option teams. So Navy's going to look to clean that up, especially Navy. Navy's defense did give up 372 yards. It really is starting to seem like Navy's defense is definitely their weak spot. Before this game, they were allowing 37 points a game, and they allowed a decent amount in this game. Like I said, time of possession was close. Navy only passed 5 times, so it's going back to that. That's pretty much around where they want to be at a game. I mean, maybe they'll throw 6 or 7 times, but I know Army's coach always says if they can throw no passes at all, that's a better day than anything. Navy avoided going down 2 scores. I said, can East Carolina force Navy to go down by 2 and make them start to pass? They didn't do that. Navy fullback Nelson Smith had a wonderful day. 17 carries, 157 yards, 9.2 yards a carry, and 2 touchdowns. Navy linebacker Diego Fago also his typical 12 total tackles, 5 solo tackles, 1 sack, and 2 tackles for loss. So a big thing coming in this game was East Carolina didn't have their starting quarterback. So backup comes in, Mason Garcia. He didn't play terribly. He managed the game fairly well. He was at 50% pass completion percentage. He had 104 yards. He had no touchdowns, but he also threw no interceptions. He had 15 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown. So it seems like he wasn't getting much help. The only one really helping him was the running back, Rajay Harris, who had 22 carries for 172 yards for a 7.8 average and a touchdown. Navy gets the win here, 27-23. Navy bounce up to 3-2. They get over 500, and East Carolina drops to 1-3. Texas State and South Alabama, a game I was very unsure of. Both teams played pretty well. Clean game turnover-wise, but penalties, they had 6 each, so they can clean that up a little bit. But other than that, pretty good. Texas State quarterback, Tyler Vitt didn't play. It was Brady McBride for this game. He was back. He went 28 for 40, 260 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. So again, played fairly well. At the end of the day, wasn't enough. South Alabama running back Carlos Davis had 32 carries, 113 yards, 3.2 average, and 1 touchdown. The 3.2 average isn't fantastic, but he did have a really good day. 32 carries. That's pretty rare of teams nowadays to have one guy have 32 carries. Good day for him. And South Alabama's linebacker Riley Cole had 10 total tackles, and those are all solo, by the way. So he was all over the field. South Alabama wins 30-20. South Alabama improves to 2-2, and Texas State drops to 1-5. Next game is USF at Temple. Good game. It came down to a 2-point conversion at the end. Turnovers and penalties definitely hurt USF in this game. They had 3 turnovers and 11 penalties. Both teams ran the ball really well. Anthony Russo played very well outside of 2 interceptions. Young quarterback, though. He went 30 out of 42, 270 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. USF quarterback Jordan McLeod did play good, although not good enough. He went 15 for 26, 182 yards, 3 touchdowns. And it was really just too many mistakes for USF at the end of the day. Like I said, the 3 turnovers, the 11 penalties. Temple ended up winning this game 39-37. Temple is now 1-1. USF drops to 1-4. Next game is Army at UTSA. A few things before the game. I said Sincere McCormick versus Army's rush defense, who was only allowing 83 a game before this game. Army's offensive line would definitely be a factor, and Army avoiding the big plays on defense. Well, Army's offensive line played much better. They did give up some big plays, and Sincere McCormick, when he did get the ball, he did his thing. Army's defense played a lot of bend but don't break football, which is okay. You just, as long as you're not giving up too many points, and 16, not too bad of a day, especially against a good offense. They went 60% on 3rd down. That's big for Army. Definitely want to keep the chains moving, kill the clock. But UTSA, they should have gave Sincere McCormick the ball much more than 18 times. Much more than 18 times. Like I said, when he did run the ball, he was very effective. I would have definitely fed him more. It would have kept Army's defense for even on the field even longer. I don't know why they only gave it to him 18 times. I mean, 18 times seems like a lot, but it's really not. Like I was talking about the last game. Was it the last game? The Texas State game. They had South Alabama had Carlos Davis carry the ball 32 times. Honestly, I probably would have gave it to Sincere McCormick 32 times, but they didn't. I think that was a mistake, in my opinion. And this, like I said, despite them not giving the ball as much as they should have, they still did a good job of keeping Army's defense on the field in the first half. That's the trick here. Army couldn't get off to the field on 3rd down in the first half, but in the second half, I believe they had I'm not sure if it was just the 3rd quarter or the entire second half, what they said, but they had 1 3rd down conversion. So maybe if you gave it to Sincere McCormick more, he might have wore them down a little bit more. Another thing, if UTSA was capable of stopping Army's fullbacks, they'd probably take away the entire game. Not to mention Army was on their fifth and sixth string quarterback, fourth and fifth string quarterback. They didn't. They didn't stop the fullbacks. Army's fullbacks combined for 27 carries, 165 yards, 6.1 average, and 3 touchdowns. So they didn't do that. UTSA quarterback Will Narquise, before he left the game injured towards the end, went 16 out of 31, 155 yards and a touchdown. He also had 10 carries for 47 yards. Army did get to him a few times. They were hitting him numerous times, and then he actually had to scramble. I think it was a third or fourth down play that they needed, and he went all out and got it. Unfortunately, hurt himself on the play. Sincere McCormick had 18 carries for 133 yards and a 7.4 average. Question marks there, because you give it to him 30 times, who knows what happens. Another player that really hurt Army was Zachary Franklin, although he should have had a pass interference towards the end, but I guess we won't talk about that. 12 receptions, 138 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Army does win. They improved to 5-1. They win 28-16. UTSA falls to 3-3, but if I'm UTSA, I'm not worrying too much. Next game is Western Kentucky at UAB. UAB's ground game really took over in this game. They ran for 217 yards. Western Kentucky couldn't convert on third down, going 1 for 12. They also had 4 turnovers, so just not playing good football. Like I said in my predictions, they just haven't been playing good football. UAB running back Dwayne McBride, I thought Spencer Brown was going to have a big game. He didn't. Dwayne McBride had 10 carries, 131 yards, 13.1 average, and a touchdown, and that's pretty much what did it in. I believe that's UAB's 22nd straight home win. They win 37-14. I actually picked this game to be 35-17, so it was extremely close there. Next game is the offensive explosion of UCF at Memphis. UCF came out swinging. They got up to a 35-14 lead. Memphis then said, hang on a second, because they started storming back. They got the score 49-44 with 2.5 minutes left. They went right down the field. They scored. They failed on the 2-point conversion, but now they're winning 50-49. They kick it off. UCF gets the ball. They go right down the field and get themselves in field goal range. And their kicker missed a 40-yard field goal, which led Memphis to win the game. Then UCF's kicker proceeds to go ballistic. I mean, he was punching things. He got into an argument with what I believe was a backup quarterback on the sideline. People are trying to calm him down. I get it. You missed. It sucks. You lost the game for your team. But at the same time, they could have done better things to avoid you having to go up for a last-second kick, like penalties. UCF's big problem was penalties this year, and they had 10 penalties for 96 yards. If they don't have those 10 penalties, who knows how the game turns out. But I've seen kickers miss much more important kicks. Not to say this game wasn't important, but I've seen kickers miss kicks in national championship games and not even have that much of a tantrum. From what I know, the teammates were just trying to calm him down. No one said anything to him, and he just flipped out. You got to be better. UCF had 798 total yards of offense. Someone's got to get these people defense. Jeez. Memphis had 703 total yards of offense. Both quarterbacks went off. Dylan Gabriel went 35 for 49, 601 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Brady White went 34 for 50, 486 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions, including the game-winning touchdown pass. Memphis running back Rodriguez Clark had 21 carries for 112 yards, and it was enough. Memphis won 50-49. Memphis goes up to 2-1. UCF drops to 2-2. Again, I don't think there should be any reason for UCF to panic. They lost in a close one to a good team. nothing to start worrying about. Next game is North Texas at MTSU. The one game I thought MTSU could win because of North Texas' defense. They didn't. I mean, they had them. They were up 24-14. They couldn't hold on. I mean, North Texas probably would have won by more points if it weren't for 3 turnovers. They racked up 768 total yards of offense. So North Texas really put on a performance. I mean, again, they gave up 35 points, but their defense, we know, is a little handcuffed at the moment. Asher O'Hara, my player to watch, he played good, but not good enough. He went 18 for 29, 164 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He also had 24 carries for 79 yards. So more of the same of him passing and running and it not being enough. North Texas running backs, Jason Bean and DeAndre Torrey, they went off. They had 23 carries combined, 312 yards combined, 13.5 average combined, and 5 touchdowns combined. And that was enough for North Texas. They won 52-35. North Texas gets 1 game under 500. MTSU drops to 1-5. I'm gonna say their season's pretty much done. I mean, granted, this season with the bowl games, I don't think they're gonna get a bowl invite. I don't see how they get a bowl invite. Next game is Marshall at Louisiana Tech. Marshall didn't really have a good first half. They were still up 14-3 at halftime, like I was saying. They had 2 turnover on downs and a fumble in the first half, so really slow start. But then they slowly started pulling away from Louisiana Tech. They had 402 yards of offense. Marshall running back Brendan Knox had a good game, 32 carries. Another running back with 32 carries, 125 yards, 3.9 average, and 2 touchdowns. One player for Louisiana Tech that had a good game was Adrian Hardy, 9 receptions, 102 yards, and a touchdown. Marshall, like I expected, got the win, 35-17. Marshall improves to 4-0. Louisiana Tech drops to 3-2, but still over 500. That does it for the games that were actually played. A few games that were postponed: Cincinnati at Tulsa, Southern Miss at UTEP, and Florida International at Charlotte. All those games are postponed. I'm sure they'll find a date for them. If not, it is what it is. We know what this year brings. And that's it for week 7. Week 8 will be already here. And I guess we'll see you for the predictions for week 8. Probably Wednesday or Thursday. That'll be out. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and see you then.